Knight Rider, a shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man who does not exist.
It's starting to rain, boys. So fun little video I wanted to make here on Supercross 3, specifically on the night riding element in the game. Thought this was a really cool... This is something I think they've kind of... Didn't they start implementing this a couple games back where you could do kind of like the cyclic weather on the compounds and stuff like that? I don't think this is the first game they've done this in, but this is the one I really like noticed it, and it really became a, you know, like something that really has made me realize how cool this element and feature is to this game and how much variation it adds to the track content and how different it can make a track feel, right? So what I have this set on right now is I'm on the compound. I don't have the actual daytime on the cyclic. I just have that set on night, but I have the weather on cyclic, so it'll go between, you know, rain, wet track, dry, then back to rain or whatever. But the interesting thing is when you go in here with the cyclic daytime on the compound, it'll go from the full spectrum, right? Like morning time, evening time, brunch, lunch, you know, 2, 3 o'clock look, sunset, you know, and then it'll kind of go where it's like in a bit of a twilight vibe. Really cool graphical effects they've put into this game. When you get right before it starts getting nighttime on the cyclic weather effect, you really get like a bit of a like a twilighty type look to it, right? It's actually really cool, and I noticed that just riding on the compound whenever I first got on the compound. I had the weather on the cyclic. I was like, man, this is insane how this is even looking like this. I'll go into it here in a second to kind of show you more of what I'm talking about, but you'll love sometimes on Supercross 3, the front end just like flips over instantly. Oh, man. That's kind of cool, though. I like finally that this game has a little bit of a... Damn, I'm actually on a 450. This sumbitch might raise up on me a little bit, you know? Versus the... Let me just get on the gas wide ass open no matter what kind of speed, no matter if I'm stopped or going or whatever, and the front end's never even going to think about coming up at all on me, right? It's really cool to see them actually put a little bit more of that kind of a skill gap into here. But, yeah, specifically when you're in there on the cyclic weather effect, you need to work on those object collisions in this game, Milestone. You've always had this issue a little bit, but it's not like a smooth collision over objects, right? If you're trying to like cross a log or cross a rock or whatever, it's almost like you're hitting an instant tough block pop-off type vibe thing. So definitely needs a little bit of work on the object collisions. But yeah, this was just something that really intrigued me about this game, this whole cyclic and just specifically the different weather effects, time of day mixed with the weather effects and stuff like that. If they can really start advancing this stuff over the next few games, I think they really have something here. Like if they can start making a... Look at that purple haze off in the distance, dog. Little perp skirt. That looks really cool out there. But yeah, like I think eventually they could get to the point where they have like a really cool, almost like a dusty dust storm on a dry dune track, you know. All these other little elements are like an actual full-blown snow to blizzard to light snow to snow on the ground to no snow on the ground to digging up dirt in the snow on the ground. You know, they could really, you know how this sort of weather effect is going from like cyclic, like rain, and then it's just like wet track after the rain, and then the wet track dries up when it stops raining for a while. I mean, you could really create some cool dynamic on-track weather affecting things in these motocross games that we've never seen before. I mean, this is how you really do those like next AAA motocross game features and really, you know, really push the games with the advancements of that and like with true snow tracks. I mean, you just imagine how fucking cool that would be if you know, they come out with their next game and it's like you got a full-blown, you know, whatever track kind of in the snow, and it's like then the snow's falling halfway through the race and you're getting more snow on the track halfway through the race, and then it stops snowing and then you dig down in the snow into the dirt. So you're getting more, and then it affects all the traction. You know, you're getting all different kinds of tractions depending on how you're doing that. Same way with like dusty, dry, blue groove. You could start off on it's a cool moon off in the distance. You can definitely see it moving. So this is the cool feature with the nighttime mode when it really starts going. Now they might have actually updated this and changed this, because I know at one point they had it to where it was almost pitch black when they did that little update where I think it was like the first or second update to this game. I mean, literally you'd be riding in the cyclic mode like this and it would go almost completely pitch black. So it does sort of seem as if they have lightened up the nighttime riding here a little bit. A lot of bit, actually, so that's interesting. But yeah, you know, one thing I was going to kind of go into is, sorry, this is just one of those videos, boys. The Spencer Turley special, like a 30-minute long. Let's just go into 5 different conversations here. I just start getting on all these ideas I've had in my head for so long, just start coming out like I can't control it, dog. So one thing about it would be like, you know, being able to start on a really dry blue groove track, like some of those real dry tracks on Reflex, you know what I'm talking about. Like being able to start on that and then 5 or 6 laps in the race, it just starts coming a monsoon, right? Gets the track totally wet. Then the whole like terrain deformation and the traction and the fucking, the terrain and everything changes from hard packed blue groove, stiff ruts. You're going to cross rut and fall down instantly, choppy bumps. It like instantly changes to a slicker. You can start digging down in the dirt. The ruts become more movable, more cushion to the dirt, all that kind of stuff in the middle of a race, right? That's how a really cool thing I think they could accomplish in some of these future arcade motocross games. And just mark my words, they will eventually do this whole thing. Eventually. Whether it's snow or like going from dry blue groove to super wet monsoon. But like, you could do a 20-minute, whatever, 20 lap, 30-minute plus 2, whatever you're doing, like motocross or supercross or whatever, like a main events time of a race or a full moto of a race, right? Kind of saw the lighting change right there a little bit, got a little darker. Yeah, this is nothing as dark as what it was when they did that one update. I mean, it was really cool, some of the lighting effects and stuff that it was creating with that. That must have changed with that update. That's interesting how they did that. But now it's almost like, it still almost feels like day even though it's night in a way with the way they have this looking here. Maybe I think you could have made it just a little bit darker than what this is looking like right here, right? I think you might have just went just a little too far back to the light side. A lot of times in these games, the nighttime modes are not dark enough. They're just not at all. So this definitely, I think, yeah, it was probably a little too dark when you first did that update. I mean, I don't want to be riding in pitch black. But still, this is almost like you're in daytime, but it looks like nighttime off in the distance, So it's kind of getting that weird vibe a little bit. But what I was getting at is, eventually they're going to do that where, like, you start off of a moto or a main event or whatever. It's like I said, it's like really dry blue grooved, right? Then it starts raining let's just say it starts raining a little bit, like 5 laps into it. Then on lap 10, it's like raining super hard, which changes the track even more and the traction and everything and the ruts and everything, right? And then on lap 15, like the rain starts to die down. And then by the time you get to the last lap, it's like all that rain has started to dry up and kind of turn into that kind of thick, sticky, real sticky mud, right? You could do like a whole thing with it. I mean, there could be a whole fucking thing with it, dog. You could make a track change so much in one, and you could do like a really cool long GNCC hair scramble race where it's, you're doing like a super, super long race and it does multiple different weather effects. You could go from, there's no limit to it, guys. My whole point is like, you could go from rain to sleet to snow to back to rain to then it washes the snow off. You know what I mean? Like you could do so many cool variables and different things with it. And just from an idea standpoint, one of you AAA motocross companies needs to hire me just from a fucking idea standpoint. Not even being I would be the best, like, quality control dude you've ever seen in your life as far as, like, okay, this is acceptable for a AAA motocross game. This is not acceptable. Like, dude, I could help you guys so much on that side of it, but not even that. Just for an idea sense. I mean, just look at all the freaking track designs I've made. Like, and that's just 1 percentile of what's cooked up in my brain, you know, as far as motocross game ideas and stuff like that. I got everything you can imagine up in my head to do on that stuff. I don't know. One day we'll see. We'll see if one of these AAA motocross games companies really smarten up and get somebody on their team that really knows. And of course, it's, you know, I just sound like this cocky little YouTuber or whatever. Of course, that's kind of the vibe people are going to get, but it's like, man, you got to come to the realization about how much stuff I have, you know, said way before, way ahead of time, and then it happens later. Like, whether it be a road with MX Simulator, you know, that's basically non-existent now in the pro racing. I mean, yeah, it is a little bit in the main events, but it's so much lower than it used to be. And that's what I've been telling them to do this whole time. See right there, it changed from nighttime to the morning time. So it was a pretty cool little change up there. But yeah, not only that, just all the physics stuff I've been talking about and the free whip designs and you could literally go back through all the rants and review videos and literally pinpoint it to, like, okay, Spencer said this 4 months ahead of time. Now they're finally doing it. Spencer said this 2 months, 2 years, whatever, ahead of time. Now they're finally, they always eventually do the stuff I'm telling them to do. They may not do it in the next game. They may do it, you know, 2 or 3 games down the line, but they eventually always do the shit I tell them to do. Man, I mean, literally, it's to the point to where all the stuff I've told these game companies to do, motocross game companies, and whether it be whatever, RF, MX Simulator, whatever the fuck it is, right? They always eventually start doing what I've been telling them to do. Whether it's, yo, you need to fix your jump scaling. Yo, you need to fix your traction on your RF tracks. It's too slick. You need to build up the corners. You need to make bigger berms. Whatever. They always eventually do what I'm telling them to do. You need more pre-made on the motocross tracks. I mean, it's just like they always eventually do it. I mean, I literally sitting here thinking in my mind, I can't even think of a thing that I've told one of these companies or whatever organizations, RF, whatever it is. I can't even think of a thing that I've told them to do that they haven't eventually done, you know, in the future after I've said it. I can't even think of one thing that I was like, okay, you really need to do this. You really need to change this thing. You really need to fix this certain thing. And then they just never did that thing. I can't even think of a single thing, dog. Literally every single thing in complaint and, you know, make the jumps more skill gap, make the whips more free. I mean, it's just, it goes down to everything. Make the rhythms more skill gap. Make the pop-off system not as janky as MXGP Pro, but like still the ability to pop off. You don't just want to be able to overjump, underjump, anything like the first Supercross game and never pop off. AKA Monster Energy Supercross 3. It's just like literally everything, dog. So I hope to see more of that in the future. But either way, went off on some crazy tangents. You know what it is, boys. Night riding, definitely a cool addition to Supercross 3. That was the main point of this video. Really happy to see it. I want to see how they advance this whole sort of system and ideology with the next games, with more cyclic weather effects, more weather effects in general, more on-track changing, actually like true terrain deformation with, you know, other elements to it as well. I think a lot of that can be done to really improve their shit here, but either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.